we go, episode 7 and unmatching outfits.
Yeah, I thought that was good for a week. It was good for a week.
Yeah, rapidly, it's done now. We're done with that. Yeah, until we get team shirts.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, let's do that. We can start selling merchandise, Nick and Jen merchandise. There will be zero market for that.
Family. Yeah. There you go, birthday. There you go, Christmas.
That's on the list. Add it to the list. So, thanks for the feedback on last week's session. Some interesting, because it was a bit different for us. We actually stayed on topic, which was kind of unheard of. So we're deliberately not going to stay on one topic today because I think it just constrains us too much a little bit.
Yeah, it panics me a little bit because I know we can dive into any topic and go a number of different ways on that one. But then I'm like, oh, but what about this and what about that? But we did get some really good feedback on that. Transitions, such a good topic, so juicy. So it's not talked about enough. So it's interesting to see the amount of people who came back on that topic. So we'll see where this session leads us.
Yeah, absolutely. So the plan today is we're going to talk about our top 10 coaching mistakes. And I can guarantee, right, we have done all of these.
Yeah, tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
And even thinking about them now, I'm like, I could mention that one or that one because that was definitely a mistake. But yeah, but they're learning curves, aren't they? I know that's cliched, but like, you've just mistaken that situation to be something different, and you can learn from it. And
Absolutely. So these aren't in any order, by the way. This will just be our 10 coaching mistakes between us. And yep, we definitely aren't saying we've got it all right, because these are from our experiences of making these mistakes as well. So, right, I'm going to kick us off. And it's a mistake / bugbear of mine, I think. So I think they'll probably verge into that category as well. Laps of the pitch or laps of the pool, like just doing something for a warm-up that bears absolutely no link to what you're about to do. Wow. Ring true with anything?
Yeah, in a number of different environments, from the times I was in a PE hall to the times I've across different sports, to the times of years and years of just doing a layup. And I know, right, there's definitely people saying, but get a couple of touches on the ball, or get your eye in on something, or, they'll have little phrases that come to like detach from where you've just come from, a car, school session, work into the session. I appreciate that, but doing these 5 laps thing to get going, or just the monotony of something that has no purpose or no focus. Oh my days. Great stuff.
I used to do, as a player, I used to do laps for a warm-up, and then we go straight into a 12-minute run. So I was like, oh, well, that links, but you're just making me a good 12-minute runner. Yeah, I was a pretty one-directional footballer, but that's not going to help. So yeah, minimizing laps and making sure that the warm-up links to what's about to follow. Definitely one mistake that I've made before.
Okay, brilliant. I would say number 2, one that I learned probably the hard way, 14-hour-long days with no balance doesn't make you a better coach. So the times when I was coaching and I was having like morning to evening to nighttime thoughts about what about if we do this, if we go to that, affected my sleep, which then affected my eating habits. It affected my ability to kind of take pause moments, reflect, have downtime, and essentially feedback with a positive, clear mind and have a bit of fun. So all that ripple effect came from my thoughts around what being a good coach was, the perception that, oh God, she's in here first, she's out last, she's doing all this work. And it wasn't effective. I'm not saying that some days you don't need to do the longer day, but in general, I think there's massive implications on you as a person if you exhaust yourself day in, day out thinking of that coaching role. Thoughts on that?
So what's the solution? How do you kind of find your way around that?
Boundaries initially. So if you're kind of aware of, what you need is for sleep, what works well for you, having your eating habits kind of nailed down, or snacks available so you're not snacking on crappy food because you've had too little sleep. But around the rest of the stuff, I'd have kind of things set in that you do every week. So something, whether it's a community or practice chat with a group of coaches, even though you're still talking about it, it's still in a social aspect, but making sure that you link in with other people, that you do something maybe that's completely separate and have something in the diary 2 weeks in advance to go somewhere or get out, like small little things that link to the well-being piece as well. But like it's so easy, especially in lockdown, to be consumed by all the virtual things that are out there.
Yeah, brilliant, great point. I'll stay on that kind of, I guess, coaching about you theme. So my number 3 is the coach and the massive ego. The coach thinking that it's all about them, and the score of, or the performance outcome reflects on who they are as a coach. You know, the golf coach whose golfer doesn't have a great round, and the golf coach takes it personally, like it's them that's, you know, or the swimmer that's not swum well, or, you know, you've lost 3-0 at the weekend and it's like your world has ended and you take it out on the kids or other people. Like, no, just no, don't.
So how do you get around that though? If so, say let's come away from even the performance space that sometimes or most of the time functioning, and let's say it is that coach that's been volunteering and the world, they feel the world is watching them. What kind of steps would you give them or advice would you give them to work through this?
So this I had a whole season of this. I ran a under-8s grassroots team that were a mixture of 7s and 8s at the time, but under-8s for a whole season. We won 0 games, we drew 1 game, and we lost everything else. But did the score say I was a good coach or a bad coach? No, I don't think that was a justification for me, because success for us as a group of kids was, by the end of the season, we had more kids than we started, and every single kid was coming back, but they were bringing a mate or 2 with them as well, and we were hopeless. like we were just not good at what we wanted to do, but we had a great time. We had a brilliant time. Parents loved it, kids loved it. Like, some of the stories are just brilliant. But I didn't define myself as a coach by the outcome of the game.
Wow.
Because it just park your ego and think that that's important.
And that goes back, I think it was episode 1 or 2, we spoke about what your measure of success is, which you've nicely wrapped up there, and making that clear either to the parents, the committee, or having it out and about, you know, that you're talking about. That's brilliant. One of the points actually that I had down, but I won't do it as a separate point, I'll just follow it, is the lack of self-awareness. So this link into the ego, like if you don't know, I'm not talking about the stuff, you know, that I may deal with in the coach developer world of, you know, miking up and video and stuff, but having a conversation with somebody about your coaching, or asking the kids, asking the adults who you're coaching in whatever sport it is, you know, how did I come across today? How did you find that session? Did that work for you? So think to the ego side of it as well as, you know, just checking in with people and making sure you know how things are landing with them. Brilliant.
Go on then, what you got, number 4?
Okay, number 4. This you'll like this one. Stop talking too much. Or don't talk too much, which is ironic for me, really. If the only voice, I think I said it in one of the episodes before, like the coach's voice filling the room. If you walk into an environment, or they're out in the track, or they're on, you know, poolside or wherever it is, or on a bike, if all you can hear is the coach bellowing stuff out, we've got a problem. We've got a problem. So I put down the phrase, be a radiator, not a hoover. Don't suck the life out of everything that's there and fill it with your voice. Just radiate in your presence, in the little nuggets and the little nudges that are there, and don't chew everything up. Sound familiar?
Oh, no, I've been there, done that. I've done the monologue in front of the kids. I've lost the group because of that. And then I think it's absolutely find different ways to coach. You know, don't stop the practice. Just walk past the kids and just have a conversation, or just whisper something to them that you want them to, you know, focus on, or whatever it might be. That but so you don't have to stop everything every time. And I don't know why. It might be just a sport specific thing. Like in rugby, they have this kind of like they love a huddle. Like I don't know. I know they just like just cuddling each other anyway. But like so, I stop everyone in for a huddle, and everyone comes in. I'm sitting around like this, like no necks, like sitting around like that, and like and then the coach will talk for like 5, 6, 7 minutes. I'm like, why? What?
You were like, break up.
And
No.
it's just like, and most of what you said, you didn't even need to say to everybody because it was only relevant for 1 or 2 players. So yeah, 1 minute in, so what you got to say, get out. Let the players play. Let the swimmers swim. Let the golfers golf. You know, absolutely more game time. I think.
Cool.
Absolutely cool. Yeah, bang on. Kind of links to this about kind of activity time. For my next one, number 5, lines. Like, 6, 7, 8 kids in a line standing there. Like, what do you get? Like, if you're number 7 or 8, like, they switch off, they mess about, they fight. You wonder why they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
They're not doing much.
Yeah.
Sound familiar? Seen that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm nodding away. And you know what still baffles me when I see it? Is that like I wonder how they don't recognize it, how coaches don't see that, and they may have an angle on it and they may think, oh, just another 30 seconds. And like you said, the ripple effect. I'm not valuable. Oh, I'm at the end again. Oh, what's over there? And whatever sport it is, if there's long lines or it's somebody's detached from the group or there's a back and a front section, yeah, happens all the time. So okay, what kind of solutions are there then if people are going, but I have a massive amount in a small space or stuff like that? What else do you think you can?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes having a rest period, if the activity is intense, if you're kind of thinking about the intensity, the tempo, the work rate that the athletes or players are doing, then you can probably have some of that, but plan for it. The more smaller groups have more around, use the space differently, have different kids playing different roles depending on different things as well. But if you know you're in a small space, structure the practices differently.
Yeah, and you talked about it last week as well. Not just in a stagger, but if it is invasion or a group that you have, just transitioning in space. So seeing the space you have, dividing it, like there's a trust element there with saying to a group of athletes, you do an activation exercise or you move on to this in a carousel kind of way to lead into the main activity, or going with coaches if you're lucky enough to have a bigger coaching team and trusting that either the athletes, the participants, or the coaches can carry out that for you.
Or the only other thing I would say is that if you've got, if you have to because of space or whatever it might be, have an activity that engages them when they're in the line. So have a whiteboard on the floor with a question on it or something to write or to draw, linked to the topic about, so if you've just had a go, right, and you now know that there's 6 or 7 kids in front of you, right, put down 2 words that you did well in that go that you had, or something that you spotted in someone else that they did well that you can give them some feedback on. So they're still kind of focused and on task, and you don't lose them entirely. So yeah, find another way to engage the kids.
Does that, just adding to it again, does that actually come down to as well the positioning? So sometimes I find coaches, whether they divide a session, whatever sport it may be, if they divide a group up, they tend to turn their back or they focus and project their voice one way. So that I love that, whether there's an activity there or a buddy system within the groups for people to kind of engage and stay stimulated, depending on the age group really, isn't it? Some people are good at kind of staying busy while that happens, but I love that idea. Yeah, that's really cool. And also a massive mistake that still happens. Let's stay on it. Okay, number six, right. This is a big one, and you'll definitely have more to say on this. I tend to get involved in conversations and see a different angle because I don't have kids, but ignoring parents. So sometimes I think the parents are put up there as the enemy, the interferers, the ones who want to, my child is this and I think this and I've played before. And so they become the no, stay over there. And actually they have so much to offer. They have so much interest in, what's going on, or they just want it to be a safe session. So ignoring parents completely, I think, is a massive mistake. Your thoughts?
I totally agree. I think there's a balance to be made.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a balance to be made. I can remember when I was coaching a session at the academy. On the Tuesday, we played on the Sunday, and one of the parents came over to me after the session and said all his views about what he thought I should have done at the match on Sunday, and in that training session. Like just downloaded all his opinions at me. And I kind of just stood there and listened to it. And I said, what do you do for a living? And he said, I run a pub. I said, oh, right, okay. I said, how would you feel if I came in as a customer and started telling you that, your crisps were overpriced and you needed to change that beer for a different one, and that's no good, your food's no good, you need to put this on the menu. And he went, I'd be furious if you started doing that. And then he went, okay, I see what you mean now. So I was like, oh, look, I'm happy to chat, but there's a time and a place and a way to do it. So yeah, look, engage with parents. The majority of them are great. The majority of them are well-intended. Some get a little bit emotional and excited, but generally, if they don't know what's going on, they fill in the blanks and guess, and sometimes get it wrong.
Yeah.
I did. We were at home against Reading under 10s, and I said to the kids before the start of the game, you're going to decide everything. You're going to decide the tactics. You're going to decide the substitutions. You're going to decide how we play. You're going to do the lot today. So how are we going to play? So, we're going to start with one defender, and we're going to have 4 forwards and 1 goalkeeper. No one in midfield, because we were playing 6-3-6 today. So me and the other coach were like, well, we can see what's going to happen here. Is after 5 minutes, we're going to be 3-0 down. And this is exactly what happened. But we never told the parents what we were doing. So the parents were then kicking off on the side of the pitch about what the hell was going on.
Oh my gosh, that's interesting.
And it was all done for the right reasons, clearly. So the second time we did it, which was later on in that season, right, let's go, right, this is what we're doing and why and what you're going to see. And you will see learning unfold in front of you, because we said to the kids, what's happening and what do you need to do about it? Right, we might need some more defenders. Great plan. Who's going to do it?
Yeah.
But we said to the parents the second time, look, this is what's going to happen. So bring the parents on the journey with you, and definitely in grassroots sport, engage them as much as you can. Most of the parents do not want to coach. They are scared shitless of working with the kids. So I've already had this chat with some of the parents at my son's football. I said, look, I'll do some coaching. They're like, brilliant. And I said, look, if you can then just sort the goals out, do the pitch, sort the kid. They were like, just tell us what to do as long as we don't have to work with the kids. I'm like that. Win.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. A couple of try coaches I worked with last year, they used to have a workshop at the start of the season, and if it went to like regional level, they passed the little presentation onto that academy or regional coach. So there was a little bit of they've done this already, or could you use this to kind of share the process? So at start of a season thing, another coach that I work with said they used a WhatsApp group for the parents. Encouraged in some aspects, other times it could be fueling a fire, but different ways to engage and bring them on that journey that you're talking about. So yes,
definitely check out Working with Parents in Sport. Gordon McClellan's done loads of great stuff in there. Richard Shorter, Non-Perfect Dad, loads of great parent stuff out there, isn't there? So
yeah.
Right, number 7, unrealistic coaching practices. Right, we're going to do this as a topic one week, because this is a whole half hour in this. Coaches that put on practices that look nothing like the game that you're trying to prepare the kids to get better at. Just so far from it. Yeah, just frustrates me. Like, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times that I've heard the reference across my whole life, and I probably did it in the early days as well, as they say it's like this. So some bit of research in some space on some TV program said this is the way to do it. People who've gone to YouTube or watched a documentary, saw a drill, or watched in the basketball world, watched a Division 1 coach do a do a clinic, and then they've taken all the drills and I've gone, oh, you've got about 7 6'5" guys, and as an American coach in a university, I've got a couple of 5 foot, like whatever age they are, young kids here in front of me who aren't as experienced. How you plan on getting that fast break going? Or, you know, so oh my gosh, yeah. So I think that links to a little bit on there's so much out there now. It's so accessible. And whether it's the players, which has a really positive slant, come back on, oh, hey, can we try this? And the coach going, yeah, okay, let's see how that might fit into the practice session. Or somebody kind of going, lifting and popping in. I get worried about that.
Oh, massively. We used to do this practice at the academy I used to work at. And one of the big things that they wanted to work with the players on was kind of scanning. So it's important in many sports, you know, knowing what's around you and being able to kind of have a good picture of what's going on. And we shoot this practice, right? The kids would be one area, they'd come forward, but they were told to check their shoulder. So you get these kids just going, and you're like, what? But you hear coaches, right? The coaches would be going, check your shoulder, and you're like, but it's an unopposed drill and there's nobody there. Like, what are they looking for? Like, just all they're doing is probably just hurting their necks. But the whole point of scanning is to search for information that's going to influence the next thing that you did. Like, you check your shoulder, I recognize there's some space, I can receive it on my outside foot, I can turn and play. Or you check your shoulder, the defender's right there, I can't do what I wanted to do, so I choose a different technique and I go and do something else. No. But you're telling them to check the shoulder, but they're not taking any information in that's going to influence the actions that they choose.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and it was just, yeah. I die. I would literally just die inside of coach. Check your shoulder. Oh, yeah, still there.
They're like, what? Yeah. It reminds me of a story. This is a true story. So when I first started coaching, I was a couple of years in and the age groups were merging. So I got some players carry through from the team I was working with the year before in the club, and then some new players. And there was this girl who was really strong. She worked close to the basket, small for that inside position that, you know, but we're Ireland, so you accept what you get. And solid player. But the year before, the coach had done this thing called like a pump fake. So when they have the ball, they want to trick the defender to think they're going up to the basket. They give a little head nod, a little head fake. The player goes up and then they go in, draw a foul and get the basket. So a pump fake. So this girl had obviously been drilled in that matter to like pump fake, pump fake, pump fake. So she comes into the session at the start of the season, and we're going through some unopposed cones everywhere, like floating through different finishes. So being as creative as they wanted to be before we put somebody in. And she just stopped in the middle of the court and started pump faking. And then she'd go again, jump stop, pump fake. And then she'd go again. And then we'd be in a game, played a game shortly after. So we put in the defense, and against defenders, it works sometimes. And then other times, this incident happened. We're in a game, she goes up, gets a rebound, pump fakes again, pump fakes again, pump fakes again. And then I think she travels or the ball. And this happened. It was ingrained in the previous years, couple of years that she'd been coached like that. And we had to work really hard because that's all she could do, pivot and pump fake all the time. And in certain moments, that was super, but it completely ruined our game.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, I went on a funny rampage.
Don't pump fake.
Yeah, don't pump fake.
Yeah. Well, in number 8, what you got?
Okay, good segue. Reading the room. So big mistake. You have a plan. We spoke about this a couple of episodes ago. You stick to the plan rigidly for some reason. You're inexperienced, you're terrified. It's what you should do. It's what was written down and you planned it, and you don't have your finger on the pulse. So whether that is a Zoom session and you're not reading and vibing, harder to do it because you don't have that feel of what's around, but looking at their eyes, looking at if they are on screen, looking at their movement, who's engaged, who's not, who's doing it out of that obligatory, I must sign in for this Zoom session again. Or if you're on, you're on site, you're on poolside, you're on the river and you're rowing and you're like, whatever the sport is, just not having your finger on the pulse of what's happening. And that can go down to like the check-in as well, when you meet an athlete and they're slumped coming in, they're negative, or they're just not giving you, not negative, but in the body language, just like, oh, I don't want to be here. Not proceeding with a conversation to find out why and just rolling in because session's here, we're here to do a session, off we go. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember I was interviewing for some full-time coaches to work for me at the FA, and we were in Moss Side in Manchester, tough area. And it was the last session, and the coaches that we were interviewing turned up. Here's the session plan that I'm going to plan on delivering with primary school kids. So I think they were like year 2, year 3, so young uns. And literally, Alan Williams, his name is, brilliant man, great coach. And he started his session, and I've got a session plan, and he knows he's applying for a job. And within 3 or 4 minutes, he come over and he just went, I'm not going to do any of that now. I'm just going to let the kids play a game. Bold move. And I was like, okay, tell us why. And he went, well, because I recognize now that these kids have been here all day. I don't know what's gone before me, but they're just getting really agitated. And what they need now is just to run about and be free. They don't want to be constrained. So I think let them just play a game. And I was like, you'll do for me. He worked with us for 5 or 6 years. Because what he did was exactly that. He spotted what was going on.
Yeah.
He knew what would come before. And he just went, right, this is how we're going to change it to meet the needs of the kids in front of me.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
You'll do.
Yeah.
You'll do. Job done.
Oh, gosh, that's a good one. Good story. Number 9.
So, big thing for me, engage the people that you're working with. Ask them about what's going on, the session, what they like, what they don't like, the practices. Engage with the people that you're working with, and recognize that kids are not mini adults. Like a 10-year-old is not half a 20-year-old. Right? That's not how we work. So what is right for that group of kids in front of you? And understand them, engage with them, capture their imagination with stuff that's going to link to their world. If we start talking with the 6 and 7-year-olds at rugby on a Sunday morning about rucking walls and breaking lines, I mean I haven't got a clue what they're talking about when they say it anyway, but you've lost the kids. You've lost the kids, because my son's more bothered about Roblox and Minecraft. So yeah, that's engage the people you're working with in the right way.
Definitely. My poor Auntie Betty would get an awful run here, but I was going to say boring Betty on it. She's not boring at all, but that little rhyme on it. It's so easy to get sucked down that road, isn't it? It's so easy to, like, especially if, we talk about parents here, if you feel that somebody's watching and you need to do something that looks cool or looks like you're an advanced coach, and they're like, why is he playing a little game for? Why is that? Or not that it's all about games, but even the language and the goofiness of like sometimes people get embarrassed, what they see is perceived dropping to that level of like goofiness. And does that mean I'm not a professional coach? No, it just means that you're connecting at that moment with what needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Coming in, number 10, what you got?
Oh, is it 9? Was that 9? 10.
That was 9.
Oh, that was 10. So, okay, this is 10. Okay, 10. This is a tricky one. I'd say, I don't like the word help, but I'd say ask for support. Ask for help. Shout out. Get someone around you. So earlier on, we were talking about like, how you perceive the ego and all that. But I think it's just like reach out. Something about, obviously I have a coach developer lens on here now, but I'm saying like there's loads of people out there that want to help coaches. There's loads of people out there, whether you coach an hour a week or you coach 35 hours a week or you coach X amount of athletes at whatever level. Like ask for support, ask for help on things, because there's so many people tying a lot of the stuff that we said tonight. There's not only one way of doing things. And there's loads of research coming out, and loads of the academics that are there are trying really hard to put those practical implications in. They're trying to bridge that gap. So like, you know, picking something up, even if it's hard to read, or if it's like the language is a bit tough, go to something else and see if they've made it easier to digest. But I think, and the whole kind of development part tied into that, ask for help, grow yourself, keep growing as a coach, I guess, is number 10.
I don't know the proper name for it, but there's a curve, isn't there, of some description that you kind of, the novice coaches go through it where they get better and then they think they know everything.
Yeah.
And they don't get help and don't get support. And then you realize that the more you know, you realize you don't know very much. And actually, you then definitely ask for it. And definitely getting, like we said before, you know, get somebody from a different sport to come and watch you coach, just to give you feedback from, you know, an individual sport to a team sport, the other way around, or just a totally different lens on the coaching process. Yeah.
Brilliant. And like, it's not saying, you opened with it and it was perfect. Like, it's not saying that any of these 10 are going to nail you down and go, yeah, okay, now I'm an amazing coach. But the fact that you've started the ball rolling, that you've joined into something, you've listened, you've taken a couple of notes, you've questioned it, brilliant. Yeah, that's all we can ask for as human beings who are trying to invest in development of other people. So keep up the great work, coaches.
Absolutely. Brilliant.
Oh gosh, time is flying. Right. Find us on Twitter at Coach Convo, tags down here, or coachconversation@gmail.com. We are getting some emails in, we're getting some tweets back to say that people are finding them really useful or asking us to look at topics, which is great feedback. Anything you want us to discuss or anything that's happened in a training session you want to unpick, please let us know and we will put it on for the next coming episodes. Until next week, have a great week.